is still in Iowa, working on getting stuff settled up there. Tay, how you doing today?
Busy, but not bad.
Yeah, well, busy keeps you out of trouble.
Well, they keep saying that, but it doesn't work.
You keep finding a way.
I keep finding a way, yeah. Everybody has, gotta be good at something.
Well, that's true.
So there you go.
And if you're gifted, you needed to continue.
Well, they say I'm gifted. I don't know. I'm not sure how to take it, but all right.
At least they're not calling you special.
Well, they do that too.
Okay. Also in our studio, I'm so excited. We have got a young lady here named Loretta Bailey. And Loretta is with the Royal Gorge Regional Museum and History Center. Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm fine. Thank you.
She is a lifelong resident of Canyon City and just knows everything about Canyon, and that's why she's here. She has done a lot of research, and she's written, papers, blogs?
Yes.
That kind of thing for the History
Have
Center?
done programs and
Yeah. You're excellent.
for the past 5 years.
Awesome. But you've been with the History Center like 20-something years.
Yes.
And I believe you said your daughter's up there too? And
Well, she helps me. She doesn't work at the center,
okay.
but she helps me with the exhibit
Projects. There you go.
that
yeah.
I've got up right now.
And we'll talk about that in a minute too.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know where the History Center is, if you go down Highway 50 like you're leaving town going out west, it's before you get to the AT&T building right across the street where that big dinosaur is in the yard, and it's just this big brick building with the beautiful stairs going up to the door. I know everybody knows the building. It's like, oh, that's what that is. And if you ever have any questions or anything, you can just go in there and talk to them. They're more than happy, correct?
Oh, it's a wonderful resource for our Fremont County history. They've just got lots and lots of information.
Right. And that's exactly how Loretta came across this information. She's actually written a book called The Vista Lodge in Royal Gorge Park and the Real, that's REEL, California Girls. You told me you found a folder that had information on this and it piqued your interest.
Yes, that was in 2013. And it hasn't let me go since.
Boy, do I understand that. I get stories that do that to me, too. So she's written this book, and it is just fascinating, and it is also for sale. You can go to the History Center, and it's $15 if you would like a copy. And believe me, it is very interesting. This Vista Lodge actually exists in the Royal Gorge Park. You tell me you've hiked up there to it.
Yes, several times. 3.5 miles
Both ways.
up to 7,000 feet
Wow.
above sea level.
Yeah, where there's no oxygen.
Very little.
But before we get into everything, I really wanted to get this in there. This is the year that is their 100-year anniversary of this lodge.
That's correct. They opened their doors in July 1921.
And
So
yeah,
this is their 100 year ago that they started their lodge.
nice. And so in celebration of that, you and your daughter have put
Yes,
a model, I guess.
a model at the Fremont County Administration Building. In their display case, my daughter built a miniature lodge, which I was really impressed with it. And then we just have a lot of pictures and information, and some of the pictures are of the real girls, what they called themselves, the California Real, REEL girls.
I assume that was their last name, Real. No? Oh, she
No.
laughs. Nope, there's a long story. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, their last names, Ethel Lindell McMullen and Cora Beardsley.
Okay.
And the Real is spelled with 2 E's, playing off of the old movie reels,
Oh, I get
because
it.
they both were bit actresses in California.
In the silent movies.
Correct. And we had a lot of silent movie filmed here.
True, we did. Yeah. We've talked about that before, too, that Canyon City used to be Hollywood.
Yes,
in the 20s, I guess it was. So that is fascinating. I think what we'll do is go ahead. Let's go ahead. We're going to read. It's called The Synopsis of the Real California Girls. We're going to go ahead and let Loretta read that. And then when she's done, we're going to go to commercial and we're going to tell you some more about all this. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Cora and Ethel Lindale met in California in about 1914, where they owned a curio shop in Alameda. Both women were involved with the silent movie industry. Ethel Lindale, in front of the camera, dressed in stylish, flamboyant hats and dresses, while Cora was behind the camera, dressed in men's attire. They became lifelong friends, and together they made a presence wherever their journey took them. They traveled by automobile across the United States. Cora took care of the flat tires and the mechanical problems, while Ethel Lindale took care of the legalities, press releases, and any other shenanigans they would get into. Together, these two women left a trail of news articles from Oakland, California to Canyon City, Colorado. Any stops they made, they would quickly become acquainted with the local newspapers. They used the press to map out where they were headed, why they were going there, and their intentions when they got there. They would stay in a town for a while in order to earn money by performing in their local theaters. In the Canyon City directories of 1923 and 1925, Cora and Ethel Lindale are listed as the owners of the Vista Lodge on the Royal Gorge Road, and both are the only two residents living at the lodge. Considering this time they lived in, these two women who called themselves the real, R-E-E-L, California girls, had to be courageous, intelligent, and driven. In a time when women were placed in a subservient role to men, Cora and Ethel Lindale made astonishing accomplishments in all they did from 1915 to 1925. The real California girls, Cora was 35, Ethel Lindale was 31, rolled into Canyon City in August of 1916, and they left a landmark known as the Vista Lodge. And she still stands today and has revealed a few of her intriguing stories.
That is so awesome. All right, we are going to break for commercial, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the glory years of the Vista Lodge right after this.
Talk Radio 1400 KRLN.
Back with Right Time Radio, and this is Lynn Donovan, and we have in our studio today Loretta Bailey, who is a very fascinating woman. I literally could spend hours at your knees listening.
Well, thank
to
you.
Stories. I love stuff
You don't know
like
what
this.
you're getting into, because I could go on for hours.
Yeah, I had two great aunties that came to Oklahoma on a covered wagon in the late 1800s. And they would tell me stories as a child. And I was one of those kids who knew, just knew that that was such interesting stuff. And I loved sitting at their knees asking them questions. And it's funny, out of three kids, my two other siblings, I'm the one that remembers the stuff they told because I was so interested. And the rest of them are like, I don't remember. Because I'll call them, do you remember when Aunt Scotty did this?
Yeah.
No, not really. Anyway, so you also wrote, like I said, that we're just kind of skipping around in the book. It is so fascinating. There's wonderful pictures that she's taken when she herself has hiked up there. And that's all through the book. And then she's got these sections where she's written stories. So right now we're going to read. She's going to read about the glory years for Vista Lodge. Go ahead, Loretta.
In the middle of a gorgeous setting with mountain views in all directions, Vista Lodge stands like a majestic stone castle, high on Inspirational Point. Surrounding the Grand Lady are several cabins and campground. In her glory years during the summers of 1922 and 1923, the Vista Lodge and her occupants, the Real California Girls, had become well known around Colorado and other states. To reach the Vista Lodge, her visitors would need to go through Priest Canyon, which at the time was still a primitive area. Huge prowling mountain lions and black bears occasionally were seen or heard. The animals' deep growls or high-pitched screams would echo down the canyon. They had to be more than one nervous girlfriend that had to be pacified before she would ride to the top. One very large mountain lion was shot in the canyon. It was taken to town to the taxidermist and mounted. The mountain lion stood in one of the buildings at the Royal Gorge for many years. By 1920, the mode of transportation was mostly the automobile, horse-drawn wagons, and a few motorcycles. A few hardy souls were known to hike up to the lodge. The draw must have been irresistible to attempt walking to the top of Priest Canyon, especially at night when the dangers were the greatest. One danger was risking life and limb when the old, quote, Tin Lizzies, end of quote, were coming up backwards. The automobiles had more power, pulling up steep grades because the gas tanks were in the back.
How funny. And that was in reverse, right?
Exactly.
That is amazing. I just love this. I love this recount of all this. And these women are absolutely fascinating. And Loretta, you've had some unexpected contacts from people. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's almost unbelievable from where I started in 2013 to the events and people that have come to light regarding this Vista Lodge and these two women. Mm-hmm. After I had published my book, I got a call from a woman in California, and her mother was the adopted daughter of Cora Beardsley.
I'll be.
And so this...
So she knew them.
She knew them.
And her grandmother. How cool.
And the other one was, in talking to her, she gave me the phone number of the other adopted daughter who lived in Vermont and was 96 years old.
Wow.
This is the one that I could not believe. I was talking on the phone to her.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from Stony Mountain, Georgia.
Wow.
His aunt had bought stock into the Vista Lodge, and he had the certificate of 1923
right.
of his aunt buying stock.
That's
and
great.
Sent me a copy.
Oh, that is so cool. Who knew? And they found you because they saw the book.
They saw the book. They contacted the book, and then Carrie Canterbury for the Daily Record wrote up a really nice article
right.
About it. And so it just was like, this is the 100-year anniversary. It's like, this is ready to tell this story.
Yes.
And I got hooked.
I agree. What I also think is fascinating is that you have lived here all of your life, and you did not know about this until you ran across that file.
No.
Yeah.
There has been other people that knew about it, and they would call it a dance hall with liquor, but I hope to change that perspective on research that I have done.
Right.
Because actually, it was for its time, it was a very elegant place.
Yeah, you have in this book, I'll hold it up in front of the mic so everybody can see.
Everybody turn around and look.
Everybody look at your radio.
you'll be able to see it.
No, in this book you have the actual advertisements that they had put. And they're very elegantly written. You know, it's obvious that it's not some hidden little speakeasy. You know, it's
Exactly.
just dancing and just a place to go and have a good time.
And actually have orchestras.
Wow.
There from California.
And I see, let's see, from Oklahoma City and just all over. And again, you're going to have to buy the book so you can see all of this. It's just amazing. You know, what also really gets me is I know in this time period, women didn't really get out and walk around by themselves. They still were escorted places.
Exactly.
And it just was inappropriate to just get out and wander around. And I just, the courage these gals had
was amazing.
And
the resilience that they had to make this happen. It also was a time that women were not supposed to be in business.
Correct, yeah.
And
that
this
was unheard of.
And so that didn't set well later on with some of the business people in the city.
Yeah, they didn't appreciate the women, but still, you know, it's really tough gals like this that kind of forged the West anyway, didn't they?
Exactly.
All right, we're going to go to another commercial, and when we come back, we're going to do one more reading, and then I don't know, who knows what'll happen on Right Time Radio after this.
It's anybody's guess.
It is anybody's guess. We are back with Right Time Radio, and we are talking to Loretta Bailey, who has written this amazing little book called The Vista Lodge in Royal Gorge Park and the Real California Girls. You've also got a date on here, 1916 to 1925. That's how long they were here?
That's how long it lasted. They were here a little bit longer after that. They wanted to rebuild after their fire.
Which we're going to talk about next.
Exactly. And they did not have the money to do it.
Oh, okay.
And not the support that they needed.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and read about the fire. So this is the Vista Lodge was destroyed by fire on Monday night.
On February 25th, 1925, two newspapers, the Canyon City Daily Record and the Florence Citizen, reported a devastating fire to the Vista Lodge, removing a landmark which, for the past 10 years, has been a guide to one of the most beautiful scenic drives in the West. Miss Beardsley and Miss McMullen, owners of the lodge, were awakened about 11 o'clock. Their bedroom had been filled with smoke. The cause was unknown to them. On further investigation, they found that the kitchen at the rear of the lodge was in flames. With the assistance of two of their nephews, Richard Rowland and Carl Walker, they fought the fire with shovels and dirt. It was impossible to get water in sufficient quantities to the lodge. The inmates, and that was a term they used for residents in the 1920s, of the lodge fought the flames all night. The crew was only able to save two pianos and some personal belongings. The grandma Beardsley and two newly adopted children, Walter McMillan and Marion Beardsley, who also lived at the lodge, barely escaped the flames. Those that fought the fire said if there had been an east wind, there would have been a danger of a forced fire. The property had a value of approximately $10,000. which was held by Biggs Lumber Company of Canyon City as the trustee. The insurance carried was $6,500. The 4 concrete walls and the fireplace are still standing. The fire appeared to stay inside the lodge. As it was reported, the cabins did not burn. Later, a news article reported that the cabins were moved to another location, but they did not say where.
I'll be. That's terrible and amazing.
Really, and
I love the depth of the information you have. Where were you able to get this much information?
these are news articles that I get from the Museum and History Center. I have been there for 20 years, volunteering and working off and on. And so it's just a wealth of information on our county, on our cities in this county. And it's just fascinating for me to read these articles written in 1925 in their language.
Yes.
And it's just colorful.
That's a good description.
It's colorful, and they tell you grandmother Beardsley,
Right.
and two newly adopted children.
In-depth information.
Exactly.
We have another author that comes in and is on our show, and you know her actually, Tracy Beach.
Yes.
That she praises y'all for all the information she gives. But she tells us that, and that's where I learned it, that the newspapers were written very differently back in the 20s. Because that was the TV, you know, so they were able to write it more elaborately.
Yeah, and they just opened that time capsule from the high school. It was like 1924.
Yeah.
They just opened that up the other day.
Cool.
Yes.
Had some I think they had a daily record from the 1924.
Nice.
And a lot of other things in there, so I thought that's kind of cool.
That is very cool.
That you're reading, and I get so that I'm living the past a lot of times, and I'm so engaged in it that when I stop, I look out and say, "Oh, there's electricity, there's stoplights, there's cars."
Well, are they going to look back, say, 80 years from now, and go, "That's how you guys lived"?
I
That's
know.
just primitive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything will be around 80 years from now. I don't know.
No, I'm sure it will be. But yeah. So that was your phone. That was your mode of communication.
Well,
you know.
no, not 1924. Yeah, that would have been very rudimentary phone systems.
Yes, they did have them in town, but they're up there in the Royal Gorge Park.
Yeah, no
as I
phone.
said, real primitive.
Right.
And to get there, you had to go up a Priest Canyon, which had switchbacks and dirt road,
Just make life fun.
drop-offs on both
Rocks are
sides.
Yeah. Almost like
Yikes.
going up Shelf Road.
Oh, Shelf Road,
Exactly.
Red Mountain Pass.
Yeah.
Or go up that backwards, as I was reading earlier.
Because that's the only way the engines would feed. Because they didn't have
Isn't that-
pumps; it's all gravity fed.
that cracks me up, really. But yeah, and the engines were. I'm going to tell my husband about that because I think that's fascinating. That the engines were stronger to go backwards than it was to go forward.
Well, they had a better reverse gear, but again, it depends on the vehicle, wherever the fuel tank was located, because they didn't have mechanical pumps.
Right.
Or definitely not electrical pumps. So if they were a little low on gas, you had to do what you had to do to make it work.
Helped.
Yeah, so going backwards, if the tank was in the back, you'd have to it's all gravity fed, so you had to do it that way.
That's fascinating. What fun information. I just love this, Loretta. Like I said, I could spend hours at your feet listening to what's going
thank
on.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. What are the hours of the History Center?
They're open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 4.
10 to 4. Okay, everybody remember that. 10 to 4, Wednesday through Saturday. And that's all we've got for today, isn't it?
Well, we
Tay,
get
or-
about 45 seconds. I think we can burn up on.
We can.
It almost seems like an eternity.
You know, it
No.
snowed on me when I came in this
Well,
morning.
it was.
Did it
not-
snow
not-
on you?
No, but I just live not very far from
Not
here.
far from here?
Yeah, it was snowing a little bit off and on this morning. Doesn't look like there's. I don't think it's. biggest anything out there now. But the moisture, if you look across the way here, we have these big hay fields. They're turning unbelievably green.
Oh.
And we got good weather, I think, coming in next week. It's going to be upper 50s, 60s.
It's going to be a beautiful spring.
And I've seen some daffodils popping up. So
I'm just looking at the mountains from your view here. The snow. It's just, yes.
Gorgeous.
That's why I love Canyon City.
Amen. Me too. Thank you for being here today, Loretta.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for running the board, Tay.
You're welcome.
Coast to Coast fills the overnight Saturday and Sunday, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. AM 1400 KRLN, Canyon City.